Alright, so what we have here is your basic Oxyfuel setup. So we have our welding tip that's attached to the torch body that has the hoses running from it. And right now I just have them wrapped around the bottles, but they're going to attach to the regulator. And so we see our flash arrestor and our quick disconnect. Here's our regulator. So it's nicely labeled as oxygen. Okay, so we look at the two gauges. All right, remember, if we're looking for which is our working pressure, which one is our bottle pressure, the working pressure is going to have lower numbers as far as PSI, and the bottle pressure is going to have much higher numbers for PSI. Okay, there's our valve to open up the bottle. This is our oxygen. All right, so it's, again, nicely labeled for us, but if not, we can tell by the way it connects to the regulators. We have our acetylene, which is labeled, but again, if not, we can tell by the way the regulator hooks on. We got our flash arrestor, quick disconnect, and then the same thing, our regulator. This one's kind of flipped upside down. And so again, we can tell which one is the working, which one is the bottle pressure, by which one has the lower numbers. So in this case, this is our working pressure, that's our bottle pressure, and here's the valve to open it up. All right, so how do we operate an oxygen acetylene welding setup? So either bottle you can open up first. So let's just start with oxygen. All right, so we're gonna open it up all the way. Notice how the bottle pressure is reading. Okay. So from here, since we're welding, there are charts out there that can tell you what to set your working pressure for. General rule is, like 5 and 5, 7 and 7. It just depends on the size of your tip and the thickness that you're welding. And I'll have some of that for you to look at in the modules. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my best to set the working pressure to about 7. And it's kind of hard because it goes from 0 to 20 essentially. So I'm just going to kind of get it halfway to 20. All right, starting to move a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna stop right there. I'm gonna come on over to acetylene. Oh, I think I had this one opened already, so let me go ahead and close it. I don't want this to be open too much. Remember, just about a half turn to a quarter turn. All right, right now this is set between 10 and 15 PSI, so I actually want to bring this down. So how I do that is I bleed some out and I back off the regulator. See how it starts to drop again? Okay, so then I can just close the valve on that. All right, and that's pretty much just setting it up. So now I'm going to run you through how to set your torch and get a neutral flame for welding. I'm going to be showing you how to set up your Oxyfuel torch for welding. So in particular, what flame are we looking for? So there's 3 different kinds of flames. There's your carburizing flame, there's your neutral flame, and then there's your oxidizing flame. They all do different things. Typically, the oxidizing flame does exactly what its name sounds like. It oxidizes the metal at a very rapid rate, more than what we need for welding, so we don't use an oxidizing flame. Carburizing flame is a lower temperature, adds a great deal of carbon into the material, so we don't use that one either. It's for other purposes, and so what we're left with is the neutral flame. So that's what we want to use for welding. And so, you want to make sure that you got all your PPE on. I'm not actually going to be welding anything, so this is kind of for demonstration purposes only. I do have my Shape 5 lenses. I do have my welding gloves, cotton shirt, cotton pants and boots. So I've already got the cylinders hooked up. So how do we start our torch? So remember, we're not using a lighter, we're not using a match. Instead, what we're using is what's called a striker. All right, so this one's actually not that good. You grab a different one. All right, so a striker, basically you just use your thumb to move. That one's not good either. All right. Third time's a charm, right? All right, so what we're looking for is that it creates some kind of spark. So after we turn on our fuel gas, instead of lighting the torch right into it, we actually want to light it from the side, okay? We don't want to take a chance at, melting the striker or just throwing a bunch of carbon into the striker to where it no longer works. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up our acetylene just a little bit, just to where we can hear it, okay? And we're going to light it from the side. There we go. So we got our fire on, and you'll see all the soot coming up, right? So this is just with acetylene. All right, so what I'm looking for is, if we look at where the flame comes off of the tip, you see where it's, nice and calm, it's steady, and then it starts to get aggressive. We want to bring this aggressive flame down to about 1/2 inch off the tip. So I'm just going to add a little bit more acetylene. Hey everyone, so I know in the previous section of this video the angles were kind of off and the flame was a little bit hard to see because it was kind of off screen. So I went ahead, I reset the camera, and I've given us a better angle, so that's what we're going to move into here shortly, okay? Make sure I've gotten a good striker. All right. So again, I'm just going to open up your acetylene just a little bit. Don't open it up too far, okay? Just enough to hear it coming out of the welding tip. All right, strike from the side. All right. So remember, we want to bring that aggressive flame down to about 1/2 inch off the tip. And we're pretty close, so I'm only going to add a little bit of acetylene. All right, now I can go ahead and add my oxygen. The noise from the neutral flame was crazy, so a little bit of a voiceover here. When we were looking at the neutral flame, just coming off of the tip is a baby blue cone, and then the rest of the flame is actually a lighter shade of blue, and it's very translucent. You can see right through it. Turn it off by decreasing the oxygen, and then go ahead and decrease the acetylene, and that's how you shut it off. All right, so now let's get into the oxidizing flame. So the oxidizing flame is just a neutral flame with extra oxygen. So I'm going to start the torch the exact same way. I'm just going to hear or listen for that acetylene. All right, strike from the side. Add more acetylene. Give you a side profile. Fire right there. Now I'm going to add more oxygen. All right, it's loud here again, but pretty much to get to an oxidizing flame, we need to get a neutral flame first, add a little bit more oxygen. You'll see the flame shorten up, get smaller, and it's a lot louder. And another thing you'll see change is the baby blue cone that's just off of the tip actually starts to take on a purplish color. All right, so that was the oxidizing flame. Now I'm going to show you the carburizing flame. So I'm just going to leave the acetylene lit. We'll pretend that we kind of, struck a new flame. I'm going to add some more acetylene. Oops. Wrong way. All right, so now I'm going to add my oxygen. So with the carburizing flame, remember, it's the neutral flame minus some oxygen. So you're going to add your oxygen like you're going for a neutral flame, and then you're going to stop about halfway.